Hello, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good day or a good week, whatever. Why so many American homes are flimsy? That is the topic we're looking at today. This one is, let me just say, could be variable, right? Depends on where you're at. I've been around the whole U.S., most of it, and, homes have different styles, different aesthetics, so that's one thing that's cool here, Homes in New Mexico look a lot different than homes here in Illinois, look a lot different from homes in Georgia, and look a lot different than homes up in New York. So, they all have their own flair, their own style. Some builders have great build quality. Other builders go for the cheaper route. Age is also a thing. A 100-year-old home versus, a home built in 2019. They're all going to be different. Let's just get to it. I don't know much about homes in other countries. I want to learn more about them. And maybe why they're stronger than American homes? Is that what we're seeing here? Let's see. Let's check it out. This is from Cheddar. I've been linked in the description down below so you can check it out further uninterrupted. Let's do it.
Conversations through the walls. Footsteps up the stairs. Banging pots in the kitchen when you're across the house. That's just life in most American homes. Walls are thin and the opposite of soundproof. And something always needs to be fixed. And most homes aren't even that old. There should be no excuse that they're falling apart. But
True.
Why are they like
I agree
this,
with that.
especially when other areas have sturdy, thick houses that last hundreds and hundreds of years?
The answer isn't just capitalism, so don't click off the video just yet.
It's actually a lot more complex, and the solution isn't easy.
I would like to see what they say here because that is one of my go-tos that does have to do with a lot is, capitalism. That's the answer here in America. If we can make more money on it and make people buy stuff more often, why wouldn't we do it? That's how companies think here generally. So I imagine that has to play a part in this, at least somewhat. But let's see what they actually say. Is there a
If you're
better
looking for
reason?
one quick thing to blame, you can look towards George Washington Snow.
In 1832, the civil engineer was tasked with building a Chicago warehouse as quickly as possible from the local softwood. So he got creative. Snow used 2x4s to assemble hollow walls, several stories high. The method let individual workers handle assembly, leaving only one person to nail it all into place. Snow completed the warehouse in record time.
Okay.
The method was called balloon framing, and it became the construction method of choice in Chicago.
Yeah,
but balloon framing,
very common in Chicago. At least you can still see buildings like that to this day. And I've definitely heard the term balloon framing. So let's see what they say.
didn't take off until the 1940s, when America was experiencing a post-war boom period. More Americans had money than ever before, and they wanted the American dream, a house. They could suddenly afford to buy homes in sprawling new suburbs.
Yeah.
And contractors knew they could make a killing if they could produce enough homes to satisfy the demand.
Right.
Balloon framing and its successor, platform framing, allowed contractors to frame houses basically overnight. But there was something unique about balloon framing that made it only feasible in certain countries, like the US and Canada, and not in Europe.
Balloon framing requires a massive quantity of long, mature trees.
And America had an abundance of super tall, mature trees.
Right.
Plus, it was an easy and cheap construction material for the newly growing suburbs. Wood is sturdy, yet flexible enough to withstand low-intensity earthquakes and tornadoes. If you want to hear about all of wood's good qualities, check out our video on the subject here. In Europe, wood is still incredibly expensive because so few forests remain. And what
See, this is something I did not know. This is why what this channel is about. I really want to learn about anything and everything, onto big cultural things and different history and all that stuff, but also just day-to-day things. And finding out that, like, for example, lumber, wood, things like that might be less common and more expensive in Europe than it is here. I wouldn't have known that if it was more or less expensive and why. So that's the kind of stuff I'm into, finding out day-to-day stuff like that and why it is that way.
they do
That's
have
really,
is heavily
really
protected. So the average European home is built with brick, stone, or concrete, and
Gotcha.
they're many centuries old. These materials can be sturdier and safer than wood. A concrete masonry wall has a, shocker, higher fire insulation property rating compared to a wooden frame wall.
Right.
One of these concrete walls
Obviously.
has a fire rating of around 4 hours till it's destroyed. as compared to a wooden framed wall, which only has a rating of around an hour.
An hour, yeah.
Insurance carriers also have long-term data suggesting that homes constructed of brick are less likely to be destroyed by natural hazards.
Right. Makes
And
sense.
if saving money is your game, the U.S. Department of Energy estimates that you could save $340 a month or over $4,000 a year on heating and cooling if you live in a brick house over a
Wow,
wood
that's
one.
a lot.
It's estimated
That's a
that
lot of
losses from
savings.
wildfires have added up to $5.1 billion over the past 10 years.
Jeez.
A number made even more bloated by all the wood-framed houses.
Right.
Now, to be clear, wood isn't necessarily a bad building material.
I mean, take a look at the Fairbanks house in Dedham, Massachusetts. It's been standing since 1637.
Wow.
But in general, wood is harder to maintain.
Yeah.
In fact, without maintenance, many houses won't make it to 30 years.
And to many Americans, that's just the right amount of time.
The U.S. Census
Yeah.
says that the average American moves houses 11 times in their lifetime.
I was going to say, that is a thing. I don't know how often or how common that is in a lot of different areas in the world, but it does seem, especially in the last 30 or 40 years, in this more modern era since the 80s, 90s, I feel like that's very common for people to, move into a house and move into a different one maybe 10 years later, 5 years later. Or, it's common in America to move around the country, move around for jobs, all these different reasons. So it's not terribly common, maybe like it was 50, 60 years ago, to live in a home for 30, 40, 45 years. It's just not common, at least I would think, and from what I've heard. And I guess that could factor in, it's like, well, we don't have to worry about it down the road, so let's move into a cheaply flimsy house, and we won't have to worry about it in 8 years when we're out of here.
That figure across 16 European countries? About 4 times. Since
Wow,
Americans
that's
are constantly
different.
moving their
Okay.
homes, they don't need them to last as long. They
Yeah.
expect a semi-new home wherever they go because with the increased owner turnover, regular maintenance isn't normally done. It's easier just to rip it down and start over fresh.
Wow.
But why do Americans
okay.
move around so much?
You can blame the job market. In
Yeah.
America, it's much more common to hop around between companies. The opposite is true in the European Union. The World Bank reports that the median tenure of the average U.S. employee was 4 years, while the median tenure in the EU was 10 years.
Right.
Part of that culture of constantly shifting jobs is moving to a new area to take that job, meaning you've got to move houses.
Yeah.
So,
that's
short
common
story,
here.
blame George Washington Snow. Long story, blame the shifting U.S. job market.
Interestingly, we aren't the only country in the world to have famously flimsy houses.
We share that title with Japan,
Oh,
and they're
okay.
actually worse than us.
Uh-oh.
Houses in Japan depreciate like cars do in the US.
After
Oh,
20 years,
wow.
a Japanese house typically loses all of its value, and
What? Okay, that's so weird to hear. Because we all, well, not we all, I shouldn't say that because I don't know for everyone, but I should say we all in the U.S., if you're watching this from, at least like Canada, the U.S., even Mexico, real estate is a hot commodity, right? Like it always goes up. And especially lately, the last 10 years, and really the last like 5 years, real estate has just gone bonkers. It's gone crazy. Everywhere in the country, it's going up. And certain pockets of, popularity, certain spots, it's gone up like unreal. Like you can't even fathom. Some houses have doubled in value in like 3 or 4 years. It's unreal. So that is so weird to hear that a house in 20 years could be almost worthless. Like that's just bizarre. That's not how I would think of real estate here in America at all.
is, on average, torn down just 30 years after being built. According to a paper
Wow.
by the Nomura
Okay.
Research Institute, it's a major obstacle to affluence for Japanese families. The collective waste is approximately an annual loss of 4% of Japan's total GDP. The total amount of new houses built in Japan every year is on par with the United States, despite having only a third of its population,
That's
which
crazy.
is shrinking every year. 87% of Japan's home sales are new homes, compared to only 11 to 34% in Western countries.
Jeez.
Part of the reason for this is that the Japanese love new things. Their
Okay.
frequent and severe earthquakes make old houses, cheap wood frame houses from the same post-war boom we had, dangerous and without proper seismic reinforcement.
Okay.
It's considered futile to invest in their maintenance or try to improve them. That's especially
I mean, that's a valid concern too, right? I mean, crazy weather, natural disasters. At the end of the day, you really can't control that, can you? That's a good
reinforced,
point.
the Nomura Research Institute says, by concepts of impermanence in the Shinto religion. Take a look at Issei's Grand Shinto Shrine, a huge religious site that is rebuilt from scratch every 20 years.
Wow, what?
Unfortunately, it's very expensive when you apply that same principle to houses.
Americans wanted cheap homes to fulfill their dreams of home ownership after World War II.
Yeah.
But the tricks that contractors used to make that happen have made it easy for us to view homes as disposable and unworthy of repair.
Okay.
But times could be changing. A recent trend that hasn't unseated wooden framing yet is modular or prefabricated homes.
Yeah, that's like all of a sudden was looked down upon. I thought, a couple decades ago, and now it's like this thing to have like these luxury prefab homes, right? Manufactured homes. That's like I have heard that's like a trend nowadays. I don't know if it's gonna stick. I don't know if it's the real deal or what. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it. Not a route I am would be looking into. I can't picture anytime soon. But yeah, I've heard a lot about that. It is popular right here in the
Modular
U.S. right
homes are
now.
constructed in sections away from the building site and
Right.
then put together on the property.
That's right.
But they're actually framed with 8 to 10% more wood, so they're extra strong for transportation and are designed to be
okay.
sturdier than regular homes. Instead of nails and screws, walls are connected using joints and strong glues.
Wow.
It's a method that has become increasingly popular for making tiny homes, but hasn't managed to beat out balloon framing on the most important thing to contractors: price. Modular homes sell for less than regular homes, even though they can be slightly cheaper to make, so contractors avoid them in favor of more profit.
If Americans
right.
decided to stay put in one home and
There's a capitalism entry, right? We were waiting for that.
invest in it, that might change.
But the cheap efficiency of wooden framing and the necessity of moving to advance one's career are hard lures to resist, especially when everyone else is doing it.
So I suppose you can really just blame it on trying to keep up with the Joneses.
How many times?
Well, that was pretty interesting. Nice and short, not too long and drawn out. As from Cheddar, be linked in the description down below. I'd encourage you to check it out, maybe see more of their stuff. I would like to explore this further. I would like to look at homes for sale in different countries. I just think it's fun. I think looking at homes is fun. Very interesting to see different designs, different aesthetics, different build qualities, different layouts, and different prices. It's very fascinating stuff. And I would like to do that in a future video, just look at some homes here around some cool spots and around the world. So if you have any ideas to build upon that, please share them in the comments down below. Let's talk about it down there. What did you think of this? Is this your experience? If you've been to America, is this your experience as an American maybe? Do you agree with this? Are you watching this from somewhere else where you do have really strong homes and you think would be much better quality than maybe what you saw representative of the typical American home? Would you like to explain that? That's very, very interesting stuff I'm looking for and would like to pursue further in a future video. So hope you enjoyed that one. Maybe you learned a thing or two. If you did, please throw a like, a thumbs up on this video. It will help it out. I do appreciate that. Of course, you can subscribe, join our amazing community we have here. You won't regret it. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.